Welcome back to the Millennial Millionaire podcast. I am your host, Steven Cohen. Today we will be doing another solo podcast. It's been a while, guys. If you're watching this right now, it's probably the first or second week into April, and we are officially into spring. Congratulations. We've all made it through quarter one. I do believe in the different seasons. I believe in the seasons, obviously, of the world, the different cycles that have gone on for hundreds of thousands of years. But I also believe that in life, we go through different cycles, different seasons. Maybe you've been in a winter. Maybe the winter's been longer than 3 months. Maybe it's been a 6, 9, 12-month winter. Maybe your business is crushing it right now. Maybe your life is crushing it. Maybe you're in a spot where it's springtime and things are starting to pick up and there's this freshness, this lightness about what's going on. Or maybe you're in a summer, maybe you're in a fall, but whatever season of life you're in, for me personally, I feel like, at least in my industry and in my sphere of influence, a lot of us have been in this winter. 2024 was a bit challenging for some people, especially in my industry, the solar industry, but it really does feel like going into Q2, going into spring, going into April, that winter is over and that a lot of the abundance, a lot of the work that we've been sowing, we will eventually get to reap here in the next coming week. So I'm super excited. I'm super excited for this time of the year. A lot of people believe, a lot of ancient cultures believe that April 1st is actually the start of the new year and that January is a bit of a false start, as some people would address, aka April Fools, because they fooled a lot of people into thinking that April 1st wasn't the actual start of the year. So whatever you believe, I hope you're going through a season right now of curiosity, a season right now of excitement, a season right now of momentum, and excited to dig into the content for today's show. So for today's show, I really want to dive into specifically the entrepreneur and direct sales modalities. So I've been in the direct sales space for about 12, 13 years right now. I've grown up in this industry. Many of you guys know my story, but growing up, I had a very mediocre, very below mediocre upbringing where I never really had anyone doing big things around me. Both my parents combined made about $40,000 a year. One was an elementary school teacher and the other one was a security guard. I didn't have a rich uncle around me. I didn't really have too many friends that were doing big things. I come from a very mediocrity, averageness background. But with that, I believe that is a strength because I feel like if I was born maybe into a more affluent family, I wouldn't have the drive, I wouldn't have the chip on my shoulder to go do big things and really to break generational curses and paradigms. But with that being said, me growing up in the entrepreneur journey, I'm very grateful that I learned entrepreneurship, direct sales, really getting into some type of performance-based 100% commission, you kill what you eat mentality at 22 years old, at 23 years old. So I've been able to really see lots of different people and lots of different industries, lots of different companies, and see the backgrounds of what makes someone successful and what makes someone not successful. So for me, guys, there's really 9 modalities. There's 9 skill sets, 9 tenets that if you really can dive into, if you can get better, 1% better at these consistently, obviously compounded over a long enough period of time, you are going to dominate whatever sector, whatever space, whatever industry, whatever company, or whatever venture that you're currently on. So let's dive into it. Number 1 out of the 9 modalities is, you've guessed it, sales. You have to get good at the ability of selling. Now, if you knew me growing up, maybe some of you guys listening knew me from middle school, elementary school, high school. Probably not, but if you did, I was very shy. I was very insecure. I was very timid. I used to be the person that walked into a room and wondered what everyone else thought about me versus thinking of what I thought about everyone else. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys can maybe relate to that. Maybe if you didn't have someone pouring into you. Like my parents always used to say, I'm a shy kid. They used to introduce me as the shy, timid kid. So I allowed that suggestion to turn into my identity for a really long time until I realized that at the end of the day, because of neuroplasticity, we can control our identity. We can control our self-image. So it wasn't until I started to reprogram my mind and reshape the way that I looked at myself, which in turn reshapes the way that you look at the world and that people look at you. So I got into the sales profession when I was very, very young, 22 years old, which I'm very grateful for because it allowed me to practice communicating with people. It allowed me to practice the ability to get convicted in something and transferring that conviction into another person. Now, you may be wondering, maybe you're listening to this and you're not in the sales industry. Maybe you're wondering what does sales have to do with your current job or your current career, or maybe you're running a business and you're the CEO, or you're running a drop shipping company. At the end of the day, guys, whether you're in the profession of sales, you are always selling something. If you are a parent, you need to sell your kids on why they should be a good contributing member of society. If you're a husband or wife, you need to sell your spouse on why they should continue to stay with you and not leave you. Everything we do to some degree, we are selling someone. Grant Cardone talks about either selling or being sold. We're always selling an idea, a concept, a thought, a philosophy, a way of being, or we are being sold some type of idea, suggestion, concept, or thought. So our ability to get good at communicating with people, our ability to articulate, to persuade, to influence, it doesn't matter how far you go in life. We live in a world where there's 7 billion people, and our ability to get good at navigating and communicating and interacting with these other human beings will highly determine our level of effectiveness, our level of success, and our level of happiness. So we need to get good at sales, whether that's taking a class, reading a sales book, starting to learn content on YouTube, Jordan Belfort, Way of the Wolf, Grant Cardone. There's too many sales gurus out there right now that I can even count on a finger. So making sure that you are getting effective, working on role playing. In my industry, we do a lot of role playing, which seems a little silly to some people. But if you think about it, one of the best ways to get good at something is repetition. You have to really suck at something before you get good at that thing. So you might as well suck with your team. You might as well suck with your employees. You may as well suck with your friends or whoever you are willing to role play the pitch or the presentation with. So as you get into the marketplace, as you get into your customers, as you get into your potential clients, you have then practiced, and you're not using your clients as a way to practice because you have been working your craft behind closed doors. Tony Robbins says that people are praised in public for what they practice in private, making sure you're doing the due diligence outside of the field. So when you show up on the field, you are prepped and ready to rock and roll. So number one, your ability to sell is extremely important. You need to get good at it because that shows up in every area of our life. Second thing, which ties right into this, your ability to recruit and enroll. Recruiting is something that when I originally got into network marketing 10, 12 years ago, I thought it was something that was negative. I thought it was something that I needed that individual more than they needed me. And I think the paradigm for a lot of people, the misconception is recruiting is something that is a little sleazy, it's a little sketchy, it's a pyramid scheme. But when in reality, you need to reshape your concept of what recruiting is and enrolling. All recruiting is looking for other people that share a similar vision and cause and expanding your kingdom and expanding your business, your cause, your mission. At the end of the day, guys, we need to realize that all successful organizations on the planet all recruit. Religion, churches, they recruit. Professional sports teams, they recruit. The army, they recruit. Any type of successful organization that we hold to some type of pedigree, they all are masters at recruiting because what are they doing? They are looking for other people that believe in what they believe and that stand for what they stand for in order to expand their cause. There's an ancient proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. I believe that it's better to have 1% of 100 people's efforts versus 100% of your own efforts. There's a lot of friends that I have now in business that they're doing everything. They're the one that is in the actual field, running the business, handling the marketing, handling the finances, being the face, being the CEO and the CFO and the salesperson and everything. And what that does is it creates a bottleneck in your business. It creates a bottleneck in your family. It creates a bottleneck in your organization because if you're not able to duplicate, if you're not able to scale, then you're never going to have leverage. And at the end of the day, we all get into business. We all get into some type of profession so we can hopefully buy back our time. If you're listening right now and you're tuned into this podcast, chances are you're probably self-motivated. Chances are you're probably some type of entrepreneur or direct sales or self-employed space where you value your time. Therefore, you're willing to work Today, you're willing to build something today and do what is hard so you can create freedom long term and then live what we call an easy life, a life where you can live life on your terms and not have to slave away for a paycheck because you've built something that's created leverage to potentially buy back your time. So recruiting and enrolling is super important because unless you want to be a solopreneur for the rest of your life, you have to be able to transfer your vision, your cause, the thing that you are currently doing into someone else's brain and paint a big enough picture, compel a big enough vision for them that they can fit their vision inside it, and they're going to want to join you, buy into your vision, and become someone that is bought in just as much as you are. So number 2, guys, your ability to recruit and enroll, extremely, extremely important. Third thing, adversity. This one's a fun one because I'd imagine most people, when they think of adversity, they correlate adversity into negativity. They correlate adversity into something that is not necessarily what they want. In reality, though, adversity is our friend. Adversity is something that we should seek for. There's a book that I finished reading a couple of years ago. It's called Comfort Crisis. And the whole idea behind the book is in society, in the Western world, we are going through a crisis of comfort. Things are way, way, way too easy right now in 2025. Things are too easy. We don't have enough challenge. We don't have enough uncomfortability. We don't have enough we don't have as much adversity in our life as we need to. Therefore, we are becoming soft. We all know the adage that's been going around that has a lot of buzzword. It says that strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. Weak men create bad times. Bad times create strong men. And the cycle of history repeats itself. Right now, we are going through a season. We are going through a phase. We are going through an era of soft people, men and women, in my opinion. And the reason that is because we've had such a good time. We haven't been in war. We haven't dealt with really much other than COVID in terms of some type of recession or some type of crisis nationwide or worldwide. Therefore, things are so easy. Everything that we want is at the tap of a finger. I'm guilty of it. I use DoorDash way too much. I use Uber Eats way too much. I use some of these things that have been created for convenience, which is amazing, but I use it way too much that I don't allow myself to sometimes be uncomfortable. Even going to the gym, we're working out in gymnasiums with air conditions on our phone, doom scrolling in between reps. That's not true training. That's not true adversity. That's doing the easiest thing to get the easiest result. So we need to find areas in our life that we are choosing adversity, that we are choosing friction, because if not, when adversity comes, if we're not trained and if we're not prepared on how to deal with it, we're not going to show up in the way that we need to navigate the challenges, and the problem's going to be bigger than us. So I would invite you guys to find adversity, do things that are challenging, do things that are going to push you, put yourself in uncomfortable situations, because the only way to get better at something, the only way to grow, the only way to expand is to stretch, is to put yourself through resistance. The only way to grow muscles in a gym is to stretch the muscle to failure, then it rebuilds itself stronger. It's the same thing with our mind. It's the same thing with our emotions. It's the same thing with our body and our business. We need to find areas in our life where we can find adversity and not run away from it, but rather run towards it, because that's going to allow us to show us our character. It's going to allow us to create those building blocks of resilience and grit. So when the real adversity comes, we're able to handle it with poise and conviction versus running away from it and having a place of lack or scarcity around it. Fourth thing that we need to master in terms of getting better in our professional life: personal development. Number 4 is personal development. PD for short. What is personal development? Personal development is working harder on yourself than you do on your job. Jim Rohn says that if you work hard on yourself, you make a fortune. If you just work hard on your job, you make a living. What does that actually mean? Too many people in my industry, too many people in the direct sales space, they work hard on the doors. They work hard on the field. They work hard on their pitch. They work hard on how to handle objections. They work on their tonality. They're working on the actual job, which is good. You need that, but they're not working on themselves. They're not working on their emotional intelligence, which we'll talk about. They're not working on their confidence. They're not working on their ability to shift states. They're not working on their handshake. They're not working on their positive attitude. They're not working on their public speaking skills, which we'll talk about. They're not actually investing into themselves. At the end of the day, guys, it doesn't matter what business you're currently in or what vehicle or where you are currently in your life. We take ourselves wherever we go. It doesn't matter if we go to a different relationship, to a different job, to a different career, to a different company, to a different venture. We take ourselves wherever we go. So the reason that someone is more valuable, and when I talk about value, I'm talking about monetary value. I believe that we're all born equally valuable by God or the universe. But as we grow up and we get into the marketplace, we are valued different based on how we show up in the marketplace and the monetary dollars and the impact that we make. But the reason someone makes more significant, more impact, more monetary gains than someone else is simply because they're more valuable. They've done more work. They're less replaceable. They are linchpins in their organization. What is a linchpin? A linchpin is a little pin that you put into a wagon wheel that they used to use back in the medieval days, where if that little pin is taken out, this massive wheel falls apart. You need to become that linchpin in your family, in your business, in your community, in your organization. You need to add so much value into the places that you are valued in, that if you are taken out of the equation, people feel it. There's a ripple effect. There's an impact. Because if not, if you're replaceable, guess what? You're probably not valuable. If you're not valuable, you're probably not making the income that you deserve because you are easily replaceable. The reason McDonald's people make minimum wage is because anyone could go say, hey, do you want fries with that? Hey, can I get you a milkshake? That's why technology is starting to slowly replace some of these value jobs because it's easily replaceable. It's easily duplicatable. And not to go on a rant here, but if you're in one of those easily replaceable jobs, if your skill set isn't valuable in 2025 or 2030 or 2035, like it's something that you should be concerned about. If AI and robots can replace you in your current business, you probably should be figuring out a way to become less replaceable, more valuable, more impact into that organization so you're not easily taken out of the equation and replaced by robots for your job and your financial security for your future. So, personal development, that is the great separator. Working harder on yourself, becoming more. Leaders are readers. Audible Academy, YouTube University, going to conferences, putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, going to masterminds and master classes, investing in yourself. Some people say, Steven, I have no money to pay my bills. How am I supposed to invest in myself? I can't afford it. My response to that would be you can't afford not to invest in yourself. You cannot afford to invest into your health. Invest into your ability to communicate, invest into your ability to handle problems and deal with challenging things. You cannot not afford to invest in yourself because you are your best investment, as we all know. And the greatest investment that you'll ever make in your life is yourself. So making sure you are consistently, we feed our body every day. We nourish our soul. We nourish our body. How come we don't nourish our mind? How come we don't nourish our psyche? How come we're not nourishing our emotions every single day to get a little bit better? So by the end of the year, by the end of 5 years, you are a completely different individual. Most people, they overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 year. They overestimate what they can accomplish in 2025, but they underestimate what they can accomplish in 5 years. They underestimate what they can accomplish by 2030. Focus on the micro wins, focus on the micro shifts, focus on becoming a little bit better, shifting a little bit quicker, not allowing yourself to get angry a little bit more every single day. And I guarantee you in 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, your life will be completely different. Number 5. We're rolling through these, guys. Public speaking. One of my favorite. If you would ask me, Steven, what do you think has separated you over the last 10 years in solar? There's been a lot of people that started before you, a lot of people that started after you, a lot of people that had more experience or had more of a sales background or had better guidance, better mentorship, better compensation plan, better everything, better circumstances. What do you think have made you stand out? I would say public speaking. My ability to get really, really good at doing something that most people wouldn't even consider doing. Did you guys know that public speaking is not one of the, but the number one fear in the mid-modern days? Public speaking. Not jumping off planes, which I'm terrified to do. Not failing. Not loud noises. Not the doctor or the dentist, which I dislike heavily, but getting up in front of a crowd of people you know or not know and sharing something that you have practiced or that you are passionate about. The ability to public speak, the ability to communicate, the ability to present in front of lots of people or multiple people for that matter. My first public speaking practice came with 2 or 3 people in a room. I acted though as there was 100 people in the room because I knew there eventually would be. Act as is. But people ask me all the time, they're like, yo, how'd you get so good at public speaking? How'd you get so good at articulation and conveying your message? And for the record, I still think I have tons of work to do, and I'm still actively working on my craft every single day and trying to get better. But it's simply the way that you get good at public speaking is you just put yourself in the situation to do it. You put yourself in a vulnerable situation to be really bad at something, so eventually you can get really good at that same thing. We talked about it before, but you have to suck at something before you have to get good at something. And I'd argue this goes for most people in lots of different areas of life. It's not because they're not qualified. It's not because they're not good enough or smart enough or not talented enough that they're not winning. It's because they're not willing to put themselves in a vulnerable situation to get criticized and laughed at long enough to get good, so those same people getting criticized and laughing at you will eventually ask you how you do it. First they ask why, then they ask how. There's no monuments or statues built for critics, right? Dogs don't bark at parked cars. We've heard all these quotes before, but if you start doing things in life that are against what most people find comfortable or against the status quo, you're going to get criticism. You're going to get hate, and it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with those individuals, because you are then triggering them because they know that you are doing something that they don't have the courage to even try. Therefore, as a defense mechanism, they are now throwing shade. Public speaking is no difference, guys. It will be a great separator for your life. It'll be something that will set you apart in business and in charities and fundraising. You have to get good at orchestrating and being able to craft a message and being able to deliver that message for 1, 10, hundreds, thousands of people eventually. Public speaking, number 5. Number 6, emotional intelligence. We've tapped on this for the last few, but I wouldn't consider myself very smart. In fact, I make a joke that you don't have to be smart to make money. I dropped out of college freshman year. I graduated high school with a 2.6. Again, I don't have much of a formal education. I wouldn't even consider myself very smart. But what I have toned in, what I have worked on for a really long time is my EQ. Maybe not my IQ, but my EQ, my emotional quotient. My ability to be flexible in challenging situations. My ability to not dwell on negativity too long. My ability to not allow circumstances to dictate my inner mood and my inner state. That is the big difference in why some people win and some people don't in my business. Some people can go out and face rejection, face resistance, fail forward, and not allow that to affect them a day, a week, a month, or a year later. And there's other people that will run into that same circumstance, that same adversity, that same wall, and that will make them not motivated anymore, not inspired, and stop doing the thing that they know they should be doing in order to get the result that they want. EQ, guys, is huge. It's our ability to not react, but to respond. It's the ability to be able to not allow circumstances to dictate our mood. It's being principle-based and not emotion-based. Emotion-based does when things are convenient. When you feel good, I will go to the gym. When you feel good, you will knock doors. When you feel good, you'll make those sales calls. Most of the time, we're not going to feel like doing the thing that we know we should be doing. And that is the separator between people that are principle-based. When you're principle-based, you do the thing regardless how you feel. You knock the doors regardless how you're feeling about the situation, because you have integrity, because you are embodying that person that you're trying to be. Who cares how you feel? Who cares if your girlfriend just broke up with you? Who cares if you just had a failed credit that you lost $30,000 on a deal that you worked for 2 weeks? Who cares? No one cares at the end of the day. That's the reality and the truth of it. No one cares. Maybe your friends will say they care. Maybe your parents will say they care. Maybe your significant other will say they care. But the reality is the market doesn't care. Your mortgage company won't care. Your credit card company won't care. You think if you call your credit card company because you missed that sale that week, because you weren't feeling like knocking the door because you had 4 no-shows, you think they're going to care and not give you that 20% interest they're going to charge you? Of course not. So why do we put so much stock into our feelings and our emotions? Why? What happened to the days of men or females being principle-based and doing the thing because they know they should doing it because it's the right thing to do, regardless of whether their emotions are on point that day? So emotional intelligence is emotional flexibility. It's emotional fortitude. It's emotional resilience. It's doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing regardless how you feel. And it's even when you're in your feelings, it's being able to shift. I have bad days. I have bad weeks. I have bad months. I have bad seasons. But I don't allow myself to dwell in it. I try and shift my frame of reference and look at it as something that's happening for me and not something to me. And just like Bruce Lee being like water, I allow the negativity and the challenging circumstances and the adversity, I allow it to just flow off me. I feel it a little bit, and then I move on, because that's what people do that get shit done. They don't sit in the muck. They don't allow themselves to crawl or roll in the mud too long. They learn what they need to learn from the situation, and they move the F on. Number 7, leadership. Leadership is defined as a lot of different things. Some people say leadership is getting extraordinary results out of ordinary people. Others say leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. I think there's so many definitions of leadership. For me, leadership is integrity. Leadership is embodiment. Leadership is first leading myself first. Leadership is integrity. I can't look at someone and ask them to do something I'm not willing to do. I try and put myself in other people's shoes. Leaders have empathy. Leaders have certainty. People follow people that know where they're going. Let me ask you a question for those that are trying to lead teams or build organizations or leading a family or a community. Can you honestly say that you would follow you? Like, really? Can you look at yourself honestly, without the BS, without the ego, without any of the fake acknowledgement or the facades? Would you actually truly look at yourself and say, I am someone that would follow myself? Do you wake up when you say you're going to? Do you do the things that you say? Do you follow through? Are you impeccable with your word? Do you act with integrity? Do you do things? Are you charitable? Are you generous? Are you focused on contribution? Are you more focused on yourself than other people? Like, these are all different roles that go into leadership. But leadership, according to John C. Maxwell, they have a concept called the law of the lid. And the law of the lid basically says that your level of effectiveness will be capped by your level of income. So you could say effectiveness is income. You could say effectiveness is impact. You could say effectiveness is fulfillment. I think that law ties into a lot of different areas of our life. But from a monetary standpoint, you can't make level 7 income if you're a level 6 leader. You can't make level 4 income if you're a level 3 leader. Sometimes your income will make certain jumps, but eventually you will cool yourself back down to whatever you truly are at the end of the day. You can't cheat the grind. You can't out-earn your personal development. You can't out-earn your own self-image. And leadership has a lot to do with self-image, because if your leadership skills aren't on point, then you're actually viewing yourself as someone that is less than the goal that you're trying to acquire, and you're never going to work on something if you don't believe that you can actually accomplish it. So leadership is extremely important. And leadership isn't something that is appointed. It's not a title. It's not a rank. It's not because I co-own this company, or I'm a regional manager, or this person's the CFO, or this person got promoted and I didn't. That has nothing to do with leadership. Leadership isn't a rank. Leadership is not a position. Leadership is a choice. There's so many people over the history of times that were low entry jobs, low entry positions, but then have soared to the highest ranks of leadership because they made a choice. They made a choice of how they're going to show up, who they're going to be, their standard. They stood in their standard. They chopped wood and carried water. They did the things that people didn't want to do consistently and didn't care about the recognition over a long enough period of time, where then that leadership was finally recognized and they were able to stabilize and sustain it because they didn't skip steps. They embodied that person they were trying to. They act as is, not imposter syndrome, not fake it till you make it. They acted as the individual that was making that level of income, that was driving that car, that could provide that level of lifestyle for their family. They acted as is and did what they needed to in the quiet, and then finally was loud about it because they were recognized for not what they said, but for who they were and what they did in the process. That is leadership. So working on your leadership, it's something that happens daily, just like motivation and inspiration. If you don't do it daily, it doesn't work. Just like showering, leadership is something that is not learned in a day, but needs to be practiced daily. 2 more, guys. Appreciate it if you've been with me this long. Appreciate the patience and the commitment. I guarantee you, even if you just work on a few of these, just a little bit, it'll make a big impact in your life. 8th one we're going to talk about. 8. Time management. Okay. This one's fun because it is the ultimate equal playing field. President of the United States, how you feel about him does not matter. He has 24 hours in a day. Elon Musk, doesn't matter how you feel about him. Lots of controversy these days. 24 hours in a day. Gandhi, 24 hours in a day. The sales rep making excuses, 24 hours in a day. The bum on the street, 24 hours in a day. We all have the same exact resources, the same exact playing field. We all wake up with the same amount of resources in a day, aka time, 24 hours in a day. No one has 25, no one has 23, no one has 29. Yet, some people will get 10, 12, 15, 100, 1,000 times more results, more joy, more impact, more fulfillment, more progress than other individuals, not because someone has a better playing field or because of their circumstances, but simply how they invest their time. They're more present. They're more intentional. When they're working, they're working. They're not thinking about work when they're not working. They're not thinking about play when they are working. They're present. They're intentional. They're tactical. All of these things are extremely important because, yes, we all get the same time in a day, but most people spend time a little bit differently than others. If you're on the field knocking doors, for my door-to-door people out there, and someone's knocking doors intentionally, present, out there to win, out there to sell, out there to serve for 4 hours, that will outperform someone that's out there for 8 hours, that's dilly-gagging, that's being casual, that's on their social media in between doors, that's focused on what they're going to eat for dinner, that's focused on where they're going this weekend for their vacation. Being present, being intentional, and being tactical, right? Being locked in, that's a superpower. Because by doing that, you're putting more value into the time. It's not just all about quantity, it's about quantity hours. Just like some people could spend 2 hours with quality time with their family and get more significance, impact, and joy than someone that spends 6 hours with their family. It's not about the quantity, it's about the quality, okay? You have qualitative and quantitative information. Quantitative information is measurable. Doors knocked, sales calls met, number of patients seen. That is very easy to measure, and things that are measured get managed. Things get managed gets improved. That is quantitative. Qualitative data is a little bit different. Qualitative data isn't easily measured because, again, you could have 4 hours of deep work in quantitative, but depending on the quality of that work will depend on the actual resource. Your inputs create your outputs. Most people that are going out on the field or in the marketplace or making the sales calls or practicing their sales presentations, they're not doing it with intent. Therefore, they're not gaining the same value out of the marketplace as someone that is present and more tactical. So the point here, guys, is make sure that your energy is being invested into the time, making sure you don't have these leaky faucets. What is a leaky faucet? A leaky faucet may be this hard conversation that you know that you've needed to be had, but you keep preventing it or you keep putting it off. Therefore, it's seeping a little bit of energy from your day. Or maybe it's this creditor that you know that you need to call and handle, but you haven't because you're delaying it. And therefore, it's all these seepy energy faucets that you're losing. So by the time you actually need to go make big decisions and go out there, perform, close deals, show up for your family, show up for this important meeting, you're so sapped energy. You have all this mental fatigue because your mind has been focused on these low value activities. Okay. That 80-20 rule that I'm sure that most of us know, 20% of the activities create 80% of the results. A lot of us are spending most of our time with the 80%, which is only creating 20% of the results. We need to shift that and get super clear on what are the 20% that's actually going to drive my business forward. What's the 20% that I really need to invest in on my family to make sure my wife and my kids feel supported, feel heard, and I'm actually showing up as the dad and the husband that I need to. And that comes back to time management. It comes back to focusing on the things that are important and not just urgent, okay? So getting really good at time management. Last thing. The cool thing about number 9 is you could do 1 through 8 right, but depending on how you do number 9 will depend on the potency of the other 8. Number 9 is financial literacy. Financial literacy. How good are you at money? How good are you at finances? What's your relationship with income? What's your relationship with saving? What's your relationship with this fiat energy currency that in the modern day we called money? Now, money is not the most important thing in the world, but it is up there with oxygen. When you have money, you don't think about it. When you don't have money, it's really hard to think about anything other than money. I've been there. I've even gone through recent seasons of my life where maybe I was over leveraged a little much. I made poor financial decisions, and I've been thinking about my financial situation way more than I need to because of some poor decisions that I've made. Money controls our life, whether we love it or not. Unless we're going to go move to Bali and get off the grid, which doesn't sound like an awful idea to some, but unless we're going to go live the life of a nomad, money will have a massive impact on our joy, our freedom, our ability to have control, our ability to feel safe, our ability to take care of our family and provide them with the resources and the quality of the experiences that I believe everyone in America should be able to provide for their loved ones. So getting good at earning money, super, super important. Getting good at saving money and getting good at duplicating money. Those 3 tenets of money are extremely important. But before that, you really have to work on your relationship with money. Most of us are taught, if we haven't came from an affluent family like myself, to be super scarce with money, to be in lack, there's never enough money, right? Finish the sentence. Money doesn't grow on trees. A penny saved is a penny earned. We have all these programs from a really early age from our parents and from our family and from our school teachers and our pastors and our friends and society that most of us probably didn't grow up in an environment where money was abundant. I definitely didn't. 97% of the country, you can extrapolate that to the world, it's probably even worse, are broke. They're money poor. They don't know how to handle money. They don't know how to earn money. They don't know how to make money or keep it or duplicate it. 3% of the wealth is, or 97% of the wealth is owned by 3% of the country. So chances are, if you fall into that 97% like I was, you have these poor money blueprints that if you don't spend time trying to change, trying to remove, trying to edit and reprogram, then you're going to continue to have this fear about money and you're going to continue to materialize and manifest these challenges where you'll never have enough. So financial literacy is extremely important because you could do modality 1 through 8 right and increase your impact, increase the value add to the marketplace, increase the amount of money coming in. But if you don't address your relationship with this taboo concept called money, it will continue to run ransom in our life. It'll continue to show up as a challenge, show up as a problem, and it's going to create more control over us than us controlling it. Again, you should focus enough on money where money doesn't have to become a focus. Freedom of money, freedom of thought of money, freedom of doing what you want with who you want when you want is the ultimate goal that I hope everyone that is listening, that is tuned into this show, has as a desire. And number 9 is extremely important because as you start to go out there into the marketplace and generate wealth, start to create a ripple effect, start to create your financial future, start to increase your net worth, your potency in communication, your assets start to accumulate. Number 9 is extremely important if we want to complete the equation of this formula that we call financial freedom and wealth. So 9 tenets, guys, 9 modalities of direct sales and entrepreneurship. I think one ties into the other. I think if you're out there and you have some type of performance based, if you don't have a cap on your income, if you're not tied down to an employer telling you what you're worth, even if you just focus on one of these, two of these, three of these, and just get a little bit better at it, go pick up a book or just bring awareness to, hey, I need to create more adversity and discomfort in my life. Hey, I need to work on my emotional intelligence skills. I got really too upset for that little problem that happened last time, and I let it linger into other areas of my life. Man, my time management hasn't been on point. I know that I've been more fatigued during these big decisions, so I need to work on these leaky faucets and making sure these energy vampires aren't seeping my mana and my energy. If you focus on a few of these and just put awareness on them, I guarantee you your life's going to get better, your impact's going to get better, your income's going to get better, and I hope ultimately life will get better. So thank you guys for tuning in. Again, if you got value, like, comment, subscribe, share this. I love these solo pods. It allows me to just free flow and just share what's on my mind and share what's relevant in my life. And hopefully it adds value to your guys' life as well. We'll see you on next week's episode. Thanks for tuning in. As always, Steven Cohen here. Peace.